Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm DS Tanks, and in this little video I added some new fish to my 10-gallon community tank. The tank's basically complete now. Might be a teeny bit overstocked, but I think it'll be okay. I went to PetSense today, which is the only real pet store in my town, and I was thinking about some tetra, thinking about some cherry barbs, but in the end I decided to get some Delta Guppies, because I've been wanting Guppies for a while. 5 males, I was only going to get 3, but there was only 5 in the tank, so I thought, why not keep them all together? Never had Guppies, so I'm very excited to see what these guys look like and how they hold up in the tank. I also picked up some more fish food for my beta fish. They freeze-dried bloodworms. I just wanted to give him something a little different than the regular tropical flakes that I normally get him. So I went ahead and put them in the tank and let them get used to that water temperature. The gourami took an immediate interest in them, but really he just seems curious. He doesn't really mean any harm, I don't think. They seem to be getting along so far anyhow. Now once I added the guppies to the tank, it took them a second to get adjusted, but they like to stay to one side. I noticed they like to stay at the top, which I guess guppies do like. Some people might ask, well, you know, why guppies over tetra or rasbora or some kind of barb, like cherry barbs, for example. The thing is I wanted neon tetra or cardinal tetras, but they didn't have them down there at PetSense. They had some other tetras, but not many of them, and I don't know how big those get. But I've wanted to get guppies for a while since I got interested in the hobby a couple of years back. I wanted to get females as well for the males, but they didn't have any down there. And then I thought about it, I thought, well, it's probably a better idea if I don't breed anything just yet, being so new. And I do need a bigger tank for that anyhow. This tank might not be big enough, quite frankly. I'm not really sure. I don't think the bioload's going to be that much different with these guys in there. I mean, what is it, like maybe an extra fish and a half, one of those extra gouramis maybe, as much as that guy eats and goes. But I just really like the color on these. They had a variety. You got the yellow in there, you got the orange, you got a little bit of blue, a little bit of everything, and they're just constantly going and doing their own thing. As far as them getting along with the other fish go, so far they've interacted mostly with the gourami. He's more interested in them, I think. Doesn't look aggressive. Doesn't act aggressive towards them. They do a teeny, I've noticed a little bit of nipping. They nip him a little bit, just a little bit, and he kind of waves them off and they go about their way. It's not really that big a deal. The pleco, I did notice them kind of going after some of his food at the bottom of the tank, and he just kind of shoos them off again like he does with the gourami, and they go about their way. I'm going to have to be kind of careful not to overfeed this. I've actually been worried about underfeeding it up until this point, so I'm hoping that the same amount of food should be okay, really, because that gourami overeats, so I'm thinking they'll help him not to overeat. He's a little bit bloated. I was really afraid that it was something, you know, like fish bloat or something. I'm not really convinced that's what it is. I don't think it is that. I just think he eats a lot. Like, he just eats and eats and eats. If I put a wafer in there for that pleco, that gourami, he's going to get some of it. All night long, he's going to snack on it. And I try to give him flakes right before, you know, dropping the wafer in for the pleco, but he just finds his way to it. Although, I think the pleco has kind of taught him to stay away from that, because I'll notice that he will see it, and then he'll look around for the pleco, and then he'll decide against eating it and go the other way, unless it's out of the way of the pleco's territory. The pleco's main territory is right there under that rock and under that little piece of wood there. So if the wafer's somewhere else in the tank, then the gourami will get it, or if he notices the pleco's not around. Sometimes I'll break a piece in half, that way each one gets a little piece. But with all that said, I'm going to have to really watch the water now. I'll probably do a change the day after getting them, which is tomorrow for me. That might be yesterday or last week for y'all. I don't know. I'm going to keep an update on this tank for you guys. If it goes wrong, then I'll make a video talking about how I messed up, and I should do better next time. But so far it's really nice just seeing all that movement in there with the guppies, and they seem to get along with the gourami. He seems to get along with them. He goes up to them a lot and kind of uses little fillers to reach out and kind of touch them, and they zip away. I don't know if that's him showing interest as far as food, or he's just a social fish. I'm not really sure. Something else I've noticed, this being my first time with guppies, I don't know if this is normal behavior or not. Maybe you guys can tell me. At least for the first couple of hours, they were almost swimming in place on the right side of the tank. I don't know what that's about. But once I turned the lights out, they pretty much dispersed, and as I'm talking now, they're kind of everywhere around the tank at the moment. One of the small ones, the tiny ones, he's still staying around that right side. I'm not sure why he likes that area so much. It's pretty open over there. They're very interested in the plants. They seem to really like those. I don't know if they're eating algae off of there or what exactly. But I do need to get more plants as well. I would like to get some stem plants for this tank. I don't really have any other than that Val. But I would like a crypt or something of that nature, something small. Put the substrate back there. I was also considering getting a couple of Neurite Snells for this tank. I did have a ram's horn in there, but sadly he died. I don't know if he was just getting up there in age or what, because I took him from my 9-gallon, the beta fish tank, and he'd been in there for a very long time, and maybe the shock of the different tank did him in, or maybe, I'm not sure if the pleco got a hold of him up under the rock or what. Sadly, he's not with us no more. He did live about a year and a half or so. I think that's around the range of those Snells, if I'm not mistaken. But I would like to get some of those Neurite Snells. They have a lot of different colored shells, and they're a little bit bigger and easier to see. They're pretty cool. Wouldn't mind some of those. But I basically feel like this tank is finally complete as far as what I want in it. I do need to focus a little more now on maintaining the tank, maybe getting some different plants, maybe figuring out how to get these plants to do better than what they're doing. I'm happy that they're not just completely wilted away. It's been a few weeks now, 2 or 3 weeks. They seem to be hanging in there. I'm hoping at some point it turns around and they start growing and filling up the tank a little bit more. Now, I do know that guppies like harder water, most of them. My water's pretty close to neutral, maybe a little bit on the harder side, except with that fluvial stratum in there, I'm wondering if it brings it down to about neutral. It's pretty close, so hopefully they do okay in this water. I'll have to wait and see. Once I get a bigger tank, maybe a 20-gallon might be my next tank, assuming I don't need to go out and get a 5-gallon to set, if it is too much on this tank, I may get a 5-gallon to separate the gourami, potentially, but I don't really anticipate that happening. I've seen a lot more overstocked tanks all over the internet. I'm not saying it's necessarily okay, but I think that overstocked is a little bit from this one. I think this one should probably be fine. But as I was saying, the water hardness shouldn't be a problem. I think it's pretty much neutral. Got a heater in there. They should be pretty good in there, pretty set in there. But at some point in this year, I plan to get a 20-gallon, set that up, and I might remove a couple of the ones, maybe all of them, but especially the ones that I prefer to breed, and find them some females potentially. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. But overall, I'm liking the tank. I just need to kind of focus on maintaining it and enhancing it, basically. And we'll see how that goes. But this is probably my last video for a little bit. Chances are. But if you did make it this far, I do appreciate you. Like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.